Hello, this is a video tutorial on how to get the load remover for Slide 4 and Bentley's Hackpack working. First of all, go to the GitHub page linked in the description. Then if you scroll down, you can find the README file with the instructions on how to set up the tool for working, and then also some background knowledge about how does the load detection actually work. So to start things off, just click download, then hover your mouse over the DLL file, right click, save as, and you want to save the component to your components folder under the LiveSplit folder where your LiveSplit executable actually is. So here you can see all the other components as well. Just save it over there. After you have downloaded the component, you can open LiveSplit. Go to Edit Layout, click plus, Control, and click the Load Remover. Double click to open the settings menu. Here are two different options for doing the game capture. You can either use the display capture and monitor one of your screens, or then use a video capture device. If you use the display capture, I recommend monitoring either one of your screens. For example, I can monitor this current screen, and then have your game always on top. So you can, for example, have a Windows projector source, which you can get from OBS. Click always on top, so it always stays on top. And then set the region of the game manually by using your left and right mouse buttons, like this. Now it's cropped perfectly. We can then calibrate by clicking Calibrate. And then let's just trigger a load screen. Like all you need to do is trigger the load screen while the capture is going, and then you can stop calibrating when the load screen has been there for like a second. This calibrates the blackness level of the background. So now, for example, this should be all fine. We can switch comparison to game time, and let's test this real quick. Does it work? Let's trigger another load while the timer is running, and it's working. Nice. Very good. Then the other option is with the video capture device, and for that I recommend using OBS virtual capture device. So to do that, go click the cogwheel on the right side of the start virtual camera, then select source, and then select what is your capture card source here. So for example, for me it's the video capture device. You can see here that it's now showing the video capture there. So when that's selected, just start the virtual camera like that. And in the layout editor, we can now go back to the load remover and then change the video capture. Here's all the capture cards and webcams that you have available. For example, here's my capture card, but since the capture card is already being used by OBS, I cannot use it directly here. So that's why we use the virtual cameras. So select the OBS virtual camera. It takes a little while before the game updates. Once it connects, it will show it here like that. All right. And now, since we are using a direct capture source in a way, we don't really need to do any cropping because it already is the perfect game region. So let's just reset the capture cropping back to the complete frame. Perfect. And anytime you change your capture source or go from display to video capture, I recommend calibrating again. It might work without calibrating, but I always recommend to calibrate if any of your capture setup changes. So let's do the calibration once more. Let's load a game like this. And it's stopping at 1, so we got the same result as last time. Perfect. And we can now click OK and save layout. And we can say again, test this out. Let's go back to the main menu. And it's pausing the timer correctly. Very nice. One more feature about the component is the AutoSplitter function. If you go to the AutoSplitter tab here, there's options to enable AutoSplitter. And what this does is that the component keeps track on how many area loads has occurred during a split. So an area load is when we go from one map to another. So for example, when from main menu we load to the Paris hideout, we can now see that here are the statistics about the bottles, treasures, trophies, etc. These are here when an area load occurs. Inside a map, for example, if you restart checkpoint or die or something like that, there's a different loading screen where those statistics don't show up. So if you, for example, know how many area loads there should be during a split, you can set the number here manually and then save. And then if you have enabled the AutoSplitter, it will automatically split when the correct number of loads have occurred. So if you use mask splitting for Slide 4, you can use this method for doing the job splitting. And then you can, for example, manual split for the bosses if you want to keep those accurate. This is very handy, for example, in Hackpack, because there we usually split always after we have finished the level and we go to the next one. So there we split at the mask. Let's quickly check Hackpack as well. We can just, let's say we can download some file here. And enter the arcade. So here we can use the same exact component. So it just makes that you are, I'm using the capture device, update the preview, check that it shows the correct one. Again, Slide 4 and Bentley's Hackpack should have the same like loading animation screen, but if your capture setup changes in any other way, make sure to calibrate again. In Hackpack we can calibrate very easily by just entering some levels, since that triggers a loading screen like this. And we can now stop calibrating and it will be just fine. And we can test again here. Let's see, comparison is against game time. Start the timer and we can just exit, and like I saw, the timer is being paused. One nice component to have also to your layout is under, let's see, it's under information, alternate timing method. This is linked also in the description. You need to download the DLL and add it to your components folder. What this does is that it shows the what the component name says, the alternate timing method. So if you're comparing against game time, it will still show the real time over there. Or since the speedrun leaderboards are RTA timed, what is most likely useful is to still have the main timer as the real time and then track the game time as the separate timer. We can modify that component as well to, for example, show LRT or loadless or time or whatever you want. It's customizable over there, so you can use that as well. Big recommendation. With that, I think that's all. If you have any questions or you find any bugs and so on, just send me a DM in Discord or say somewhere and I can look into that. With that, hope you have fun with the component and tracking your load times.